Hello everyone, Missy here again. It is Monday afternoon, so I am recording another video of all my insane stuff. So, very exciting. For the first time, I get to start the podcast off with a finished object. Made this little pair of baby socks for a friend of mine. Her niece, I believe, is having a baby soon, and she asked for a pair of baby socks. The pattern is called banana pudding. I call mine pistachio pudding because, well, they're green. I used Koigu yarn and size 0 needles because that's my normal sock needles. And yeah, it took me all of like 2 days to do these because I wasn't really working that hard on them. Baby socks are great for a finished, very quickly project that you can just whip up and have ready to go. So that's exciting. I actually finished something. Nothing else is finished. But I've been working on things. I worked on my 4 founder socks. I finished the first one, so I have a half finished object. This is where I was at last week. So I finished the toe on this one, and I am at the heel of this one. So I'll add the heel probably later today, so I can get this one done sometime in the next couple of days. I'll probably take it with me to the knitting group tomorrow, because it's real good to just sit and knit, and I don't have to measure because I already have the stripes measured from the other one. So I know exactly how far I have to go before I start the toe. Self-striping socks are fun like that, and they just fly like crazy. Alright, second thing I worked on this sock. This is out of some online sport weight yarn. This is going to a friend of mine when I finally finish them. I got past the heel. I used just a Fish Lips Kiss heel. I have crap lighting today, y'all. I need to see about getting another light in here, I think. So those will probably go to a friend of mine when they're finished because, well, she's very knit-worthy. She gives me yarn just because she feels like it. So, yeah, I can't really say no, you know? And she's always telling me how much she wears the socks that I knit her and how much she loves them, so she needs more socks, I think. So I worked on those. I have a pile of stuff to show y'all over here. I think the only other sock I actively worked on was these. Now, these are fun. All of these different stripes are different yarns. I went through some of my leftovers and I cut anything I had between like 1 and 5 yards, and they went into this bag. And I just randomly pull out and add in when I run out of the previous color. I am using Knit Picks Stroll and Jackrabbit Heather. And I have something like 6 skeins of this. So I'll just keep doing this until I run out of that yarn. And then I can just grab and go without worrying about whether they match or not. That does involve a lot of ends. The ends are kind of crazy. And I've woven from the top, but I haven't woven in any on the foot yet, so they're everywhere. And I leave just enough to weave in on these. I don't leave any extra because there's not any extra to leave. So I started these sometime last year. I don't have an actual date on when I started them. My kids are being very noisy, I'm sorry. But given that it's going to be kind of a perpetual project, it doesn't really matter when I started them, I don't think. I'm using, I believe these are Chow Goose, size 0s. Nice and pointy. I like pointy needles. This will become apparent shortly. And again, I'm casting on 64 stitches. I think I did 12 rounds of rib on these. I may increase that to 14 on the next one. We'll see. And then 1 round plain, and then I started on the stripes. And then I just knit to this long. I didn't count or anything. I'll just, measure them next to each other. And then I added a very small 4-row mini gusset and a fish lips kiss heel. And then I'm on the foot. I will probably just do a basic toe on these, the same as what I normally do on all of my socks. 1 round plain in the solid color, and then alternate decrease rounds and plain rounds until I have half the number of stitches, and then decrease only until I'm down to about 8 stitches for the top and 8 for the bottom. And that's just what I always do. It's very mindless for me, because it's what I always do. So those are the only socks that I worked on. I did work on other things. For one, my sock yarn blanket, which I've started keeping track of how many squares I knit each week, so that I can tell you how many I worked on even if I don't pull out the whole blanket. So I had 10 total squares this week, which is not bad. Anything over 7 is awesome for me, because that's more than 1 a day, and it will grow eventually be finished, 20, 30 years from now. So I'm not concerned about finishing that at any particular time. It's just a continual project, and once I finish that one, I will probably end up just starting another one, because it's fun, it's mindless, it's really pretty. I really enjoy working on it. I also worked on, that's the wrong side, that's the right side? Nope, I was wrong. That's the right side. My Moreland crochet blanket. This is a crochet along that was put out by Lucy of Attic 24. And this is where I started last week. This is where I was. I'll move that up before I work on it this week. And so I added several stripes to it. I'm using the called for yarn, which is Stylecraft Special DK in like 15 different colors, so I'm not going to name them all. I did chain an extra about 10, I think, stitches, just to make it a little longer, or I'm sorry, a little wider. And then I'll probably add 1 or 2 extra stripes to make it a tiny bit longer so that it fits on my twin bed well. This I'm kind of hoping to have finished by the end of summer, so that when we go into winter I'll have a nice warm crochet blanket to put on my bed. Because my 12-year-old stole my other one. I love him dearly, but he keeps taking my crocheted blankets. So I let him have that, and I'll finish this one, and, well, let's face it, I'm the only one that's really going to like this one, because it's all purples and greens, and I love purples and greens, and nobody else in my house loves purples and greens. So, this will be mine. I'm excited. It's squishy. And last thing I worked on was my River Dragon shawl. It's starting to actually look like a shawl now. Okay, so the story of the shawl. I started it, I'm using a lace weight yarn. The original pattern calls for a fingering, and I'm using a lace weight. That was probably my first mistake. It's also a singles yarn. It is a single ply. It is not a plied yarn, so it's interesting. This is the lightest yarn I have ever worked with, and I don't often work with singles. So I started it on size 3s, my interchangeable, ChowGoo interchangeable size 3s. And I was having a bear of a time. It was driving me up the wall. And eventually, I think it was yesterday, I just got completely irate with it. And I said, this is not working. I was about here. So I pulled out a size 2 needle, a Knit Picks one. It was better. I liked the gauge a little better. But the needle tip was so dull. It was not any sharper than the size 3 I had been working on it with. And it was driving me crazy. Dull needles do not make Missy happy, like at all. So I switched back to the ChiaoGoo interchangeables, but I use a size 2. Much better. I went from like here all the way up here in less than an hour. And I'd been working on it for 2 hours at that point. So, lesson learned. When knitting shawls, especially ones with these fancy little star stitch things, sharp needles. Always sharp, sharp, sharp needles. Much better. So, I'm almost done with chart A. I'm hoping to finish chart A this week, and possibly there's an A2 for a larger size. And since I have so much extra yardage, since I'm using a lace weight, I'm thinking I will go ahead and do the larger size on it. And yeah, I am enjoying it. I like the look of it. It's very soft. And this will be for my grandmother when it's finished. She's had a rather rough time of it lately, so. Now, the beads, I got some size 6 beads. I think I showed them not last time, but the time before. I got a Flegel beater. And this is a Flegel beater. 1 millimeter, I think. Yeah, 1 millimeter Flegel beater from the Gossamer Web on Etsy. And so I've loaded up my first set of beads. I won't need these for quite a while. I have to finish the first chart before I even think about beads. But I figured I'd go ahead and get them set up so that when I'm ready, I can just go. I have no idea if I'm going to enjoy using this or not. This will be pretty much my first real beaded project. I have one pair of socks where I put like 6 beads on each sock. It's barely enough to count as a beaded project. So this is going to be interesting. First time with lace weight yarn, first time with, lots of beads, first time with the Flegel beater, lots of firsts. But if I ever finish it, it will be absolutely gorgeous, and I'm going to have a hard time giving it away. And I lost the lid for my Flegel beater. There it is. Alright. So that's what I've been working on. And now, since I found out that YouTube has a built-in video editor, I'm going to stop this one and start a new video and show you some more stuff. Because I can. And it's fun. Alright, I'm back. I'm going to call this segment Projects to Be Finished, Frogged, whatever. I have this pair of socks. It's a lovely pattern. The yarn is not bad. However, I decided to do it in dark gray yarn. And I can't decide if I should finish these or frog them. This is the first sock. I'm all the way to the heel on the first sock. And on the second one, which is trying to fly off the needles, I'm about halfway through the leg. I don't know. I can't decide if I should try to finish them or if I should just pull them out and use the yarn for cuffs, heels, and toes, or what. Because it's very dark. It's charcoal gray. It's Joanne Sensations Bamboo and You, and there's color on here somewhere. Charcoal gray. So, yeah. I don't know if I'm going to finish these or if I'm going to frog them. If you have an opinion, please let me know. Help me decide, because otherwise, I don't know. They'll probably sit here for another 6 months with me wondering what in the world I'm supposed to do. So, that is the only one I pulled out for this segment, and given that my kid is standing in the hallway waving at me, I'm going to stop again. So this will be a very short segment. Kids, man. Gotta love them. Okay, so, I'm back. I'm going to call this next section, it's not necessarily acquisitions, because I've had some of these for quite some time. But these are all things that I'm thinking of casting on eventually, sometime in the next month, probably. the Happy Knitting podcast is running a vanilla sock knit along. And none of my vanilla socks will qualify because they were all started before the knit along. So once I finish the 4 Founders socks, I will probably cast on another pair of vanilla socks. Just so that I can enter that, because it's a lot of fun to knit along with other people. I really enjoy knit alongs. So here are some possible options for that. I have, this is Knit Picks Chroma Twist Fingering in Ferris Wheel. And it's all the colors. I mean, it's like, yeah. And this will not make identical socks unless you start in the same point in the colorway, and I don't even know if that's possible with this. This would be my first time using the twist version of this yarn, so it'll be interesting, and I'm looking forward to knitting socks out of it. And for that, for heels, toes, and cuffs, I will probably use the Stroll Fingering in Dove Heather. It's a nice, soft, light gray. That will pretty much go with everything. That's the beauty of gray. It matches everything. It's awesome. Now, completely on the other end of the spectrum, not at all gray, I have a skein of String Theory Entanglement. I've already wound it, so here's the thing. And the colorway is, because I forget, the colorway is Neon. Yeah. So it's a self-striping. It does not have even stripes. The black, I think, is thinner stripes than the colors. Now for that, I will use these 2 colors, which match almost perfectly. I mean, it's beautiful how well they match. This one is Knit Pick Stroll Bright in Sour Apple, and this one is Stroll Bright in Pucker. And I've lost the ball band, and, well, the cat took off with it, and now it's all tangled. So I get to wind that up into a ball before I can use it. Thanks, Rico! It's really a good thing he's so cute. He is my yarn cat. He loves yarn, but not as much as he loves Corriedale spinning fiber, I swear. Any other spinning fiber is perfectly safe. He doesn't care. You leave a skein of Corriedale around, he runs off with it. He's a bit weird. Okay, other options that I may use are this. This is Barocco Socks in colorway 1408, because that's how they do the colorways. And I will pick a color probably to use for cuffs, heels, and toes. And if I pull out, where did I put it? If I pull this one out, I may use it. Because it's a dark gray. Or if I finish it and I have leftovers, I may use it for cuffs, heels, and toes. But other than that, it's a nice turquoise and green and blue and just a basic striping sock weight yarn. 75-25. Wool, nylon. So nothing super special on that. But it does make good long wearing socks. Other options. This one is a new, not a new dyer, but a new base. She came out, this is Play It Life Fiber Arts. And she came out with a Terran sports sock. It's a 90% superwash Targhee, 10% nylon. Sport weight yarn. This is colorway Dawning. And I don't have anything to use for cuffs, heels, and toes on this. So it would just be this yarn. It's a little thinner than most of my sport weight yarns, but it's very soft and squishy. It's squishy. And I love her colorways. Her colorways are gorgeous. This one's this kind of wild pink and purple, and there's bits of yellow and darker brown, and it is gorgeous. Love it. And really, I gotta get better lighting so y'all can see. So that's a possibility. Another possibility, also from Play It Life, this one is in the Just Sparkle sock. This is Sparkle the Manicorn. This is one of her Yarn of Letters colorways. And it's got it's teals and purples, and it's very sparkly. And I love this yarn. I knit a hat out of, I found a liquor store and I drank it. And I call it my awesome hat. It's comfortable, it's warm, it's basically sparkly camo, which is awesome. And I love it. And I wear it all the time. Anytime I can get away with wearing a hat, that's the hat I wear. So I don't know if this will be a vanilla sock though, because it can hold a little bit of pattern, maybe like the zigzagular socks, which have a tiny zigzagging cable down one side of it. So it may not end up being for the vanilla sock long. It may just be for fun. If I do that, I will use, I should have taken this out of the bag, sorry. I will use this, which I knit and then frogged because I was very unhappy with my gauge. Used the wrong needles for it. But I'm thinking I'll use it for cuffs, heels, and toes. This is Knit Pick Stroll Glimmer in, where's the colorway? Chrome. And so I figured it would go well. And they have very similar tones to them, and they're very sparkly, and who doesn't love sparkly socks? I love sparkly socks. But then again, I'm a redneck, so, you know. But this gray come in handy because, also in my future projects list, I got, this is a Gale's Art sock blank. Gale's Art from Etsy. And this one is Psychedelic Flower. And it is sparkly. So basically a sock blank is a big long piece of knitted fabric that you then unravel and use to knit with. And I will probably do socks out of this. They may even be knee socks. It depends on how much extra gray yarn I have. But it's these great kind of purpley gray and these bright colors and white and sparkles. And oh, I love it. I love it. So I do not know when I'll cast that on, but probably sometime after the Sparkle the Manicorn socks so that I know if I have the gray left over. Also from her, I got her 3-month April, May, and June club. This is April. It's called New York City. It's a city with fireworks. And again, it is a sparkly sock base. And I love the way she does the colors and the sparkle, and I'm really excited to see how this one knits up with the stenciled cities and fireworks on it, because that's going to be a lot different than the one that has repeating flowers. So this one's going to be really interesting to knit up. Now, I may or may not use the gray on this. In fact, if I have enough of the Sparkle Manicorn left over, I may use that for the cuffs, heels, and toes. We'll just have to see where, how it goes. I haven't decided. But they're fun, and I'm looking forward to knitting on those. Last two, I promise. Both Gale's Art again. These are both on the Bits and Bobs base, which is a tweed. And this one does not have the colorway on it. I'm not sure what the colorway is on this. I'll have to find out. But it's an 85 superwash blue face and 15 nylon nips. So it's got little bits of color. Let me see. Unwind. It's got your regular yarn, and it's got little bits of little nylon nips. And I know a lot of people think tweed is like old people clothes. I love tweed. It's little bits of color splashed throughout what would normally be just a regular sock yarn. So it's a ton of fun. I love knitting tweed socks. I realize that I am weird, and most people don't. I don't mind being weird. Being weird is fun. This one has the name on it. This one is Rusty Bucket. And it's kind of browns and grays. Pretty much a rust color. And I ordered it probably for socks for me, thinking, you know, nobody else would like tweed. I open it, and my husband's like, ooh, can I have that? Yes, dear, you can have that. Of course you can have that. So these will be socks for him, probably. And I won't do a contrasting heel on them because short row heels do not work with his feet. He has very wide hobbit feet. We don't do short row heels well. What usually works well is a strong heel, also called a Flegel heel. Or toe up. Wendy Johnson has a pattern for toe up heel with a gusset. Not the slip stitch heel, but the gusset heel. And it's basically a toe up strong heel. But it's a little wider around the heel area and gives a lot of extra room. It's too big in the heel for me, unless I make it ribbed. But for James, he works really well with it. Ribbed, not ribbed, it doesn't matter. It works really well for him. I haven't had to use it yet for the kids. Chances are, as they start getting adult age, I'm going to have to use it for them too. They both have his wide, huge feet. And my dad has wide, huge feet. Everyone in my family does, except my grandmother, who has size 6 feet. She's a lot of fun to knit socks for. So, these will be... I may use a contrasting cuff and toe, and if I do, I'll probably go with a light gray. But I will not do a contrasting heel with them. I will do the strong heel. I have not decided on a pattern for them yet either. He wants me to call them his rusty nail socks because it's a mixed strength that he likes. So we'll just have to see. And that's... I probably won't cast that on for several months. That's just purely me showing off yarn. I think that is all I have for this week. This one's going to be hopefully longer than any of the ones I've done before. I will be able to splice it together using the YouTube editor, so this is kind of an experiment. And we'll see how it goes. But that's all I have for now, so see y'all next week. Bye.